Hello, divine man, and hello, divine woman. Welcome to my safe space for healing behind the scenes. As I thought about the last chapter about the victim mindset, part two, I realized there was more to these chapters that we don't really talk about. There's more to the victim mindset that we really don't talk about. If you haven't listened to the previous chapters, just a brief overview, how we were talking about how we go through different chapters in life. And as we start reaching the end of a current chapter, it requires us trading how far we've gotten with that current chapter in exchange for another cup, another chapter, more space, more opportunity to expand into more of who we're going to become. But today I wanted to talk about the chapters. Okay, as we go through each chapter, as we go through each phase, each season, we need to understand that at the end of the day, we still have our inner child. Regardless of how you were raised, your life could have been perfect. And this is just the best case scenario, okay? Your life could have been perfect. However, there's still going to be things that you need to heal from. Children pick up on the slightest cues, okay? So as a child, even if you deemed your life perfect, your childhood perfect, there most likely are things that you may need to heal from, even if you're not aware of them. And that's okay. But as we grow up, we realize that we allow our inner child to have more power than he or she needs to have, okay? And I want to refer to this, and we know them as people who hurt, right? How they say hurt people hurt people. The only reason hurt people is because they're operating from their inner child. They are adult children. They are children who just happen to grow up on the outside. They look grown, they got responsibilities, but they're still a child. They're still they haven't mastered certain lessons to deem them an adult. Okay? So when you interact with them, when you deal with them, it's like you're still dealing with a child. And a lot of people get frustrated by this, but at the end of the day, no one is to blame. Okay, it's just the hand we were dealt in life. Now, as far as the transition, if you will, this takes time. At the end of the day, we are all children. To be honest, at the end of the day, we are all children, but some are pettier than others. Some are hurting more than others. Some are addicted to pain more than others. Some are held back by limiting beliefs and challenges more than others. And as we continue to expand who we are as individuals, as we continue to write our books, we start to realize that this requires us to step out and away from our comfort zone. The comfort zone can be a very, very tumultuous topic. So I'm not going to dive into it too much, but you have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone to truly grow and expand and see the new land that awaits you. I say all of this to say that we never truly know what another individual is going through. But at the end of the day, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. When we start focusing on healing, we are focused on reverting back to our innocent mindset, our childlike ways. This is why you can see many people as they start to heal more, they start to get more giddy. They start to get more childish in the manner of enjoying life more in a more juvenile type of energy. Okay, so as far as the chapters are concerned, as we go through them, they are Spirit's way of showing us that wherever we currently are is no longer suited for us. Okay, it's time to grow up, it's time to move forward, and that can be in the form of a soft love, or it can be in the form of a tough love. Regardless of how it approaches you, it's just preparing you for the next chapter. It's just preparing you for the next step. And excuse me, one thing I've realized is, as this starts to happen, you start to get a taste of what to expect next. You start to see where you're going in the next chapter. Okay, and sometimes it doesn't look all the way like you want it to look, but you start to see how your prayers, your wishes, your dreams, they are starting to come true. But maybe it's not at its completion. Maybe there's still more work to be done. How, and that's okay. It's so many things that are trying to come out right now, but it's okay. As your chapter starts to close, you are wrapping up burdens. Okay, if you're familiar with the 10 of Wands, it's like you're reaching the peak of your burdens. You're reaching the peak of confusion. You're reaching the peak of whatever situation you're going through, and you're letting it go. Okay, your chapters help you to release any limitations, to release any burdens, to release any addictions, anything that could be holding you back. You're in the part of your chapter where you're releasing it. Okay, it's like a cliffhanger, if you will, and you have to release it to truly experience your next chapter, to truly experience the transformation that you're going through. And that's okay. The analogy that came out is like a child, right? A child that is in the car. We're on a road trip. You're going to a location. You've been in the car for a couple of hours. You start getting hungry. While you're getting hungry, you're looking out the window and we see the McDonald's. How many of us have done this, right? You see the McDonald's and you're like, Mommy, Daddy, I want McDonald's. Can I get McDonald's? Can I please, 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 can I please have McDonald's? Right? You're like, I want McDonald's, please. And from the child's point of view, you don't know where you're going. You don't see what's happening. You just know you're in this car. You've been in the car for a while. You may have an idea of where you're going, but you're not 100% sure sometimes, right? So you're asking for McDonald's. You are not too sure where you're going, or you're not thinking that far in advance. You're just like, I see this McDonald's. I want this McDonald's right now. Okay? However, in your mind, you're like, McDonald's, if I get McDonald's right now, I would be so, so happy. I will have my chicken McNuggets, my chicken McNuggies, whatever the case may be. I'm going to have what I want. And then your parents say no. And then all you hear is the no. You forget where you're going. You're not thinking about where you're going. You're just, I want a McDonald's, and they said no. That's not fair. Okay? Now remember, the world is your oyster. You could have any and everything, but you see the McDonald's and that's what you want. And you ain't worried about anything else. Okay? So you're not thinking about what your parents are planning. You're not thinking that far. As children, we don't think about what our parents, we don't think about that. We know what we want, and they say yes or they say no. And if you're hearing that no, you feel left out in the cold. You feel like, oh my gosh, that's not fair. My parents don't love me. They don't want me to have my apple juice and my chicken McNuggies. They don't want me to have my cookie. They don't want me to get my toy. They don't want that. However, what you don't know is your parents are planning a surprise for you. They're taking you to your cousin's house, and when you get to your cousin's house, you're going to get your your favorite meal, right? Your family's cooking your favorite meal, and all you know is that you want a chicken McNuggies and you're not getting your chicken McNuggies, okay? And that can be very painful. That can have you feeling bleh. But at the end of the day, what you got to understand is that is how we are in life. Okay? We're focused on what's happening right now. When spirit is asking us to look at the bigger picture. Okay? When you focus on what's happening in the moment, you never truly allow yourself to enjoy the journey because you're just focused on the good or the bad that's happening in the moment. And that's okay to a certain extent. But at a certain point in time, you have to be saying, you have to be willing to say, okay, I understand what's happening now, but I want to look at the bigger picture. I understand this is divinely guided. I understand the end result is us being together or us reaching this specific goal or whatever the case may be. And then before you know it, when you get there, it's going to feel like it happened so fast, right? It's going to feel like it happened so fast. It'll feel like every challenge that you faced was very brief. But it requires you to take a moment and look at the bigger picture. What's really going on? What's really happening? Okay? So, when it comes to each individual in this world, at the end of the day, we're adult children. We're adult children that have a fit when things don't go our way. Um, and that is something that we have to work on. That is something that we need to change. It's not going to happen overnight. And it's not something that we truly, really want to move forward from. But as you go through each chapter, you start to learn how strong you are. You start to understand that you are not defined by your animalistic behavior. You are more than that. And as you grow, that's what separates your inner child from your adult self. And at the end of the day, we have to learn that our inner child is not the one who's in control of everything. We are. And we have to be that parent that we may not have had when we were growing up, or you may have to mimic the parent that you felt that you needed, that you wanted, whether you had them or not, right? Like, listen, my child, I understand that this is what you want. I understand this is how you feel, but unfortunately, that's not what we're going to be able to do right now. Okay? It's okay. But I promise I have something better for you. And you're going to love it. You're going to enjoy it. Now, whether you have to put yourself in the position of a child to imagine this, or you've experienced this with your own children or other children, how you think that child feels. Although they're hurt that they're not getting what they want at that moment, to some level, they are trusting you. They trust in you. And they know you're not saying this to them to just get them to calm down. Unless you're a fucked up person. And that's a whole nother story. But this child is trusting you that you're going to deliver on this promise. And they are more likely to fall in line, if you will, and be more anticipate what you promised them. And the same applies to us, our inner child, with these chapters. As we go through these different chapters, we have to understand that it's going to be painful. But at the end of the day, if you don't hold on to anything else, understand that as you transition through each chapter, you're going to start to see that promise that Spirit has for you in the next chapter. But for the moment, you need to soothe yourself, right? Soothe yourself and remind yourself that, hey, I promised that I promised myself that I will focus on healing from these traumatic events. And I'm almost there. I'm almost to the next chapter. But I need to hang on a little more because I know how I feel right now, but I have a taste, I have an idea of how I'm going to feel in the next chapter. So I'm going to hang on. However you need to speak with yourself, do it, and know that as you go through that, as you go to that next chapter, as you transition to that next chapter, as you elevate, things are just going to make more sense. Things are just going to fall into place more and more and more. All right. So I'm going to end it here. Sending you love, peace, light, and joy. Thanks for tuning into the safe space. Until next time.